For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. Cold War remnants in Russia and beyond. About 80 years ago, Winston Churchill outlined a new reality in which the Soviet Union was named the cause of international difficulties. His Fulton speech is considered the beginning of the Cold War. It was followed by almost half a century of arms race and a constant threat of a Third World War. Some of the facilities from that period still live on today as monuments to those extremely tense times. The Duga radar station. This is a Soviet early warning radar station for detecting launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles located in the Chernobyl area. It could track targets at a distance of 4,000 km. That is, it could literally see beyond the horizon. Because of the characteristic sound it emitted on the radio airwaves during operations, resembling the noise of a helicopter blade, it was nicknamed the Russian Woodpecker. Duga, the giant abandoned over-the-horizon radar near Chernobyl. It is well known that during the Cold War, the tension between the USSR and Western states rose catastrophically. The arms race spurred rapid development of the weapons sector. So the Soviet leadership realized that the country needed to improve its air defense technologies. It was calculated that a ballistic missile launched from the United States would need 20-30 minutes to reach the USSR. The defense forces needed a system that could detect the missile 2-3 minutes after launch, so there would be enough time to react and neutralize it. In the mid-1960s, designer Vladislav Repin and academician Alexander Mintz proposed a 3-tier system of missile detection radars. The first tier consisted of satellites tracking the missile plume in the infrared spectrum. The second were the over-the-horizon radars, which used radio waves to detect the flames, and the third were ground-based radars that tracked the missile as it approached Soviet territory. These 3 tiers helped reduce the risk of false alarms, and the responsibility placed on personnel for incorrect decisions increased accordingly. The problem emerged with the second tier. Physicists lacked the technology to produce over-the-horizon radars. Scientists led by engineer Franz Kosminski resorted to an early aircraft detection method developed by Nikolai Kabanov in 1946. It operated within the ionosphere, the upper layer of Earth's atmosphere, at an altitude of 61,000 km. This layer contains many free electrons due to cosmic radiation. It was found that at around 300 km altitude, the ionosphere reflects radio waves, allowing them to propagate across the entire globe. Kabanov's method worked as follows. A source sends out a radio wave, detects an aircraft at a distance of 904,000 km, reflects off the aircraft, and returns to the receiving antenna, which analyzes the signal and determines the size, speed, and direction of the flying object. This method could also be used to track missiles. The radio waves would simply reflect off the plasma trail of the missile instead of an aircraft. The method needed testing, so in the mid-1960s construction began on the first experimental over-the-horizon radar in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, near the city of Mykolaiv, 480 km southeast of Kyiv. The project received the codename Duga. The structure looked colossal. The receiving antenna was 135 meters tall and 300 miles long. The transmitting antenna was 85 meters tall and 200 meters long. There was also a 90-meter long building with 26 enormous two-story transmitter units. Building these units was fraught with danger and difficulties. Workers at the plant in Dnipropetrovsk, today known as Dnipro, 400 km southeast of Kyiv, could not handle the task alone. So Kuzminsky assembled additional teams of specialists to assist them. After construction was complete, it took the specialists a full year to adapt Duga so that it could properly detect targets. The complex began operation on the 7th of November 1971. The tests were successful, so Franz Kuzminsky proposed building 2 more Duga complexes in military towns in different parts of the USSR. Construction began in the 1970s. The first radars began operating in combat mode in 1982 in the Russian Far East near Komsomolsk, on Amursa 600-700 km southeast of Moscow, and later a second one was commissioned, again in the Ukrainian SSR, near Chernobyl's 90 km northwest of Kyiv. This placement minimized the effect of the polar cap of the ionosphere. The cap interferes with radar waves, and when it blinds one part of the country, the signal is perfect from the other. The 2 new complexes were much larger than the first one in Mykolaiv. The main radar in Chernobyl consisted of 2 receiving antennas. The larger was 140 meters tall and 900 long, and the smaller was 90 meters tall and 500 long. The 300-meter transmitting antenna was built near Chernihiv, leaving about 80 kilometers of distance between parts of the complex. Building Duga in Chernobyl was far from easy. The receiving antennas required thousands of tons of frame tubing, which was in severe shortage. Moreover, these tubes contained special radiators shaped like elongated baskets. The radiators had to be coated in zinc to protect them from rust. Duga was a top-secret project, so practically no one knew where the sounds were coming from. Serhiy Bakalov, a historian from the Chernobyl Museum in Kyiv, recalls that even some Soviet officers had no idea what the complex was built for, and some people were convinced it was a weapon designed to destroy the enemy with an electrical impulse. The radar sent out pulses at a frequency of about 10 times per second, and beginning in 1976, when both complexes were still in test mode, this signal began appearing in the radio spectrum of many countries. It was soon determined that the source was on Soviet territory. The sound resembled a frequent tapping, so Duga earned the nickname the Russian Woodpecker. None of the known methods could eliminate this distinctive noise, because the radar sometimes changed its frequency and tone. The noise irritated people, and several countries, including Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, and others, protested to the USSR for violating the International Radio Frequency Allocation Convention. The Soviet authorities decided to keep everything secret and simply added noise suppression technology to the modernized Duga program. It also included technology to avoid the ionospheric polar cap, more advanced missile tracking methods, and other improvements, but in the end Duga met a terrible fate. On 26 April 1986, the Chernobyl tragedy occurred. The fourth reactor of the local nuclear power plant exploded. Duga was only 10 km from the plant. Naturally, everything in the complex remained physically intact, but due to gamma radiation it simply could not operate anymore. The military town around Duga was evacuated, but the personnel remained in a special underground facility until 1987, when all equipment was removed. It survived the disaster intact. Everything had been stored in an area protected from nuclear radiation. The equipment was moved to Komsomolsk, on Amur, but fate was not kind to Duga. Due to new ideas in air defense, in 1988 a decision was made to cease further development of the project, and in the 1990s the equipment in the Far East was destroyed by fire. This ended the story of Duga. The complex in Komsomolsk on Amur was dismantled in 1998. In 1995, the experimental radar in Mykolaiv was shut down, and in 2001 it was taken apart. Duga still towers over Chernobyl as it stands in an abandoned area. Illegal Chernobyl tourists are drawn to this gigantic, truly impressive structure despite the deadly danger it poses. The tubes today are terribly rusted. However, the complex is the last one that continues to rise as a monument to the air defense system of the late USSR.